Hi, I'm Bob Davis of Bob and Dawn Davis Photography and Design, and I'm happy to be here as part of Hahnemühle's presenters on printing. For me, photographs are not actually an image until we print them. Today, in this digital realm in which we live, everything is on a review screen or on some type of device. Well, it's time to get those images off your devices and get them into printed format because they'll be archived and cared for forever. The beautiful thing about prints is they're beautiful, they're tactile. You can hold them in your hands and you don't need a device to review them. How long have I been a photographer? Wow, my entire life. I got interested and hooked in visual arts back in high school, and that was a long time ago. So I graduated high school in 1980. I had a passion for visual storytelling and exploring cultures, so my goal was to be a photojournalist. I attained my goal by working at the Chicago Sun-Times for 15 years. I worked at a smaller newspaper prior to that. So I was a photojournalist for approximately 24, 25 years, long time, right? And my wife and I transitioned into our own business, Bob and Dawn Davis Photography and Design, in 2004, although I've always freelanced, and I've freelanced for pretty much every major publication in the US, Time, Newsweek, Sports Illustrated, US News, World Report, People, still get published in People occasionally, but now our primary focus is weddings, events, and wildlife and nature. That's kind of like my zen and my passion to recharge yourself after wedding and event season. So let's see, what other questions did we have? How did I get into those genres of photography? Well, I kind of like to borrow a phrase from a friend of mine, fellow Canon Explorer of Light, Rick Salmon. He came up with this phrase that I really connected with, and it's that you specialize in not specializing. Where I'd like to say I specialize in just visual storytelling. The camera for me has really been a passport to explore pretty much anything, anywhere in the world, different cultures, different arenas of photography, from sports to news, politics, wildlife, nature, to intimate storytelling and private celebrations of life, and when I was a journalist, celebrations of death as well. As I shared before, we are in business together with my wife, Dawn Davis. She is my better half. She does primarily all of our editing, design, post-production. She takes our photographs that I create on the front end and really makes them sing. But what I want to talk and share with you today is the power of the print. Let's say hashtag prints matter, because they really do. You know, our clients often are concerned about downloading their digital files, and we do include them, but we include them with an outputted product. And for us, it's a FineArt book, which is printed on FineArt paper, and we do FineArt prints. I'll also include for our clients what I would like to call a signature artist print that they're not expecting. And I might print that on an 8x10, 16x20, or even a 24x36. We run 2 production printers in-house. That would be a Canon Pro 1000 and a Canon Pro 2000 24-inch wide format printer. I've had the blessing of being among my photographic heroes, and I was invited to be a part of the Canon Explorer of Light program. Wow, it's got to be about 15 years now, so I'm now one of the old guys, but I still have that rookie spirit, and I'm always green and growing and looking for new ways to remain current and relevant and embrace technology. Hahnemühle has been a great partner for me because the papers that we choose to print on are almost like the palette that we work on. Like an artist would choose a canvas or watercolor paper to create their artistry. I allow the photographs to speak to me, and then I'll choose the paper that I feel best complements that photograph. So I have some photographs here. You know, this happens to be some of our wildlife work, and I'll get to it. These are 8x10 prints printed on the Pro 1000, and you really have to touch them to appreciate them. But this is on the Hahnemühle FineArt agave paper. Let's get that to focus. It's looking for my face. There we go. And this was in Africa at Mashatu Game Reserve in Botswana, and this is at a watering hole. But here's where I can share with you different papers render different tonalities. This is a nice warm tone, light shadows, but for this photograph, I feel the bamboo paper really brought out the richness of the texture and the dark, rich shadows that I was seeking in a black and white photograph. We do black and white portraits. This was for a senior portrait, a friend of mine's son. So we were photographing, doing a portrait session, and this is on the hemp paper. Really rich tone. You get wonderful, wonderful deep shadows, beautiful texture and tonality throughout. Just amazing. And again, prints matter. If you print out just one photograph for your client from any session, they're going to take that photograph and do something special with it. Put it on a wall, frame it, put it in a book, cherish it, carry it forever. Here's another black and white photograph. I just love the fine art paper, and this is on hemp as well. And again, it's extreme contrast between black and white. So it just renders all those tonalities beautifully. Getting back to speaking on prints, one thing that I like to do is share that prints really matter. Here's a photograph. We'll pull up on that face there. There we go. Get it in close. That's it. So this is a photograph of my mom from her prom in 1934. We don't have the negative, but we have these prints that have been handed down through family, and they ended up with me. So perfect example how prints really matter. Printing plays a really important role, especially with the younger generation that we deal with, because they've grown up around screens. They've grown up with social media. They've grown up with devices like smartphones. So we need to get the output in their hands, and it's amazing when we deliver them to our clients and they take a print or they take our fine art book and they look at it, and it's like, oh my God, they really appreciate it, and they spend a whole lot more time with it. The texture is just as important as the print quality. Some of my favorite papers are printed on the metallic. This is just gorgeous, right? So if you get some images that have lots of color, tonality, like this portrait we did for a client, oh man, the metallic paper is just stunning. It's absolutely breathtaking. Also printing on larger format paper. So this is printed on the Pro 1000. This is 16 by 20. So this is printed on the Hahnemühle FineArt etched paper because it really brought out those soft, muted tones and colors within the photograph, right? So again, the paper and the image go hand in hand. Now you could print that on metallic paper, but I was going for that subtle, soft look. Here's from a recent engagement session. Now this one we printed on the Photo Rag Pearl because it pulled out the essence of the colors and the tonalities and the richness that was in the image itself. So I really don't stick with one paper. I love them all for many different reasons. If I had to choose just one, I would probably say it would be the Photo Rag, because that's really a nice diverse paper, has a nice bit of gloss to it, or the Baryta, and it pulls out the wonderful tones and colors. It's equally amazing for black and white. So let's see, they had a few more questions here that they wanted me to get into. Is there a paper, texture, or surface that I like more than others? Again, that speaks to the photograph. So this picture here, this portrait, really lends itself well to have a nice tooth and texture in it because there's so many heavy dark areas in it that those dark areas pick up that texture and that richness, and it just makes that photograph sing. Even if it's behind a nice high quality glass, you'll still see that. So let's see, what else is there? Is there any advice you could draw from experiences that I've had? Yes. The magic of prints, while the photograph and the actual image is powerful and important, and people love when they see it, if we give them a sneak peek after an event and they get those photographs on their digital device, but once you send them a print or they receive their fine art book, again, it's just this stunning experience that they have. and it takes their breath away. They tell us that. And then when they feel the textures of the papers and the surfaces, it's just a whole nother tactile stimulation. Like my wife likes to say, girls love things that have texture and feel. They go around when they're shopping and they don't just look at items. Guys are more visual, but women, they want to touch it. They want to feel it. And that texture, like this fine art paper here with the eagle, oh man, when you touch it and run your fingers on it, and then once you frame it, you're always going to remember that feeling. You're always going to remember that texture. And every time you look at that print, all those sensations come back. They're triggers. Very cool. Well, I'm going to take you guys down to our production area and show you some of our large format prints that we've made using the Hahnemühle Baryta paper and the Hahnemühle metallic paper. Just stunning, gorgeous. So come on down with me. Welcome to our production facility. Our printer, our Pro 2000, is connected via hardline Ethernet up to my office in the loft where I do all my editing. I have a monitoring computer down here, but that's not actually calibrated or used for printing. It's just basically a server. But here's where we do our large format prints. And as I was saying before, I'd like to share with you that I choose the paper that I think best will speak to the photograph. So here's again from a trip to Botswana, Africa, and this is at a watering hole. And here, to me, the metallic paper just really pulls out the rich, warm tones and prints it just beautifully, really reproducing this photograph to the best of its ability. And it's just gorgeous, especially when you put it under a beautiful piece of glass. It just almost looks like it's underneath water with the depth and the clarity and the sharpness to it. It's just completely amazing. And this is printed on the Canon Pro 2000 roll paper. We have a print that is just come out of our printer just now that we just finished up. And this is from, let me release the lever on it, there we go. This is from Hallstatt, Austria, and this is a high dynamic range panographic photograph. So it's 35 different exposures. So it's 7 stitched, panned, and bracketed photographs so that we get all the amazing detail up in the mountains in the dark tones and all around and in between, highlights, shadows, and midtones reproduced beautifully. And again, the rich tonality of the photograph and the color that's in it, I felt that the metallic paper would be best to print it on. It looks really nice on a matte paper, but it really sings on that metallic paper. Just amazing. You know, and again, paper choices are so important. They're the palette in which we work, right? So here's some different photographs. This photograph is of an American kestrel, and it's printed on the FineArt German etching paper, which has a really nice texture to it, but it's a matte paper. And to me, because the colors and the tonalities were very soft and muted, it almost made it appear more painterly because of that texture, because of the paper, because of the softness of the paper, right? So that to me just really spoke beautifully. It truly looks like a painting instead of a photograph. And all I did was change the surface on which it is printed upon. Here's another large photograph printed on photo rag paper. Right? This is not metallic, but this is the photo rag paper. And this is from a starry night in Botswana, Africa. Baobab tree with the Milky Way above. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful image and photograph. And all the tones and textures are there. So I really love that that can speak to it. Here, let's pull out another one. Black and white, I tend to go for the matte surfaces, right? Because it just brings out the richness in those black and whites. Very soft, very beautiful, amazing. Here's a photograph that's printed on photo rag. It's a bit of a high key photo, See if we could get that to focus in there. It's trying to focus on my face, right? This is a snowy owl. Again, soft tone, soft light. So I thought that surface would lend it really well. This is photo rag as well. Some water droplets, very bright, vibrant color. I bet this would look amazing and outstanding on metallic paper. But the photo rag pearl was just beautiful for that surface in that photograph, right? So here's another photo rag pearl in black and white. It's a bit richer, a bit more contrastier. So again, get a packet of paper, a sample packet of paper from Hahnemühle. Print some 8x10s. I suggest taking the same photograph and print it on 3 different surfaces, because then you'll start to understand the palette. You'll start to realize that the surface of the paper plays just as much in the role of what you're trying to say through that photograph as it does in the way that you print it and the way you captured it and photographed it. So again, I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you again. I'm Bob Davis, visual storyteller. You can find my wife and I, Dawn Davis, at Bob and Dawn Davis Photography and Design. That's our website. We're Bob and Dawn Davis on Instagram, Bob and Dawn Davis on Facebook as well. If you're looking for my more experimental photo, Facebook Lives, that kind of thing, I'm Bob Davis 1 on Facebook, and that's where I kind of put everything from wildlife to weddings to our lighting labs to printing to playing with light. So thanks again, Hahnemühle. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful to have this partnership with you, and I look forward to sharing more in the future.